Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language, as well as discussion of material that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil just about anything that pops into our heads. We hope you enjoy. Well, this is something new. Yeah, this is not a scripted review like I normally do. Just gonna decide to do something a little bit different. Just gonna gather a couple of friends, talk about an anime. And speaking of friends, here with me I have Juiced from scenic Ireland.
That's right. I'm from the one, the only Emerald Isle, and I'm looking forward to discuss this anime today.
Sweet. And joining from a little bit closer to my neck of the woods is Nomadics.
Hello.
All right, so I love it's like from the Emerald Isle and hello. So, for those of you who might be listening in on this, this is not going to be, like I said, a scripted video like I've made before. This is going to be very free-form discussion about Kids on the Slope, or if you prefer the Japanese name, Sakamichi no Apollon. One thing to say is that, as you heard from the disclaimer in the beginning, there may be coarse language throughout the course of this, so you might want to hide your kids. And we also will be talking about spoilers during the course of this, so if you have not seen Kids on the Slope, that is just the one thing that you have to be aware of, just in case that's an issue for you. But with that being said, I guess the only thing left to do is jump right in. So, you guys have actually watched this more recently than I have. I think you actually finished within, I want to say, a week and a half of each other, something like that.
I'd say so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I finished last Saturday.
Last Saturday, okay. And Pneumatics, you were maybe 3 or 4 days ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, your memories might actually be a little bit better than mine, because I first watched this months and months and months ago. But let's start off, I guess, with just general thoughts on the series. Speaking personally, this is a good show. This is a good show.
It is. I think it is.
It is quite good, yes.
Yeah.
I think this is the point of the video, not gonna lie.
No,
It's good. That's it. The end. We're done.
No, yeah, there's nothing else beyond this. You can just click off the video right now. You just want the Cliff Notes version, that's what it is.
I can subscribe.
So there's actually one thing that I do want to talk about actually at the start. And this is somewhat connected to when I made those Snow White Notes review way back when, which feels like a lifetime ago. But one of the biggest problems that I often have with a music anime is that the music really is not highlighted enough. It's often filled with characters who are having either thoughts to themselves with soliloquies or talking like what the hell is going on or something like that, to the point where it talks over the music so much. And thank Christ, this series finally just lets the music breathe. Like they actually play, they actually play the music and they don't, they don't talk over it all the time. Yes.
Yeah, they do actually. What I do like actually.
Alright, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say what I do like actually is compared to I don't know, another music anime I don't know, Your Lie in April or something. I like how all of the music scenes are actually very well animated. I felt with Your Lie in April, you just looked at still images of them holding the instrument while they talked over it almost. I really enjoyed seeing the animation of all of them playing their instruments. Especially
Sentaro playing the drums. Oh
yeah.
That was gorgeous. That was so
that was
gorgeous. Pneumatics, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, going back to how you said how they actually play the music and not talk over it. I think part of that has to do with the director. Forgive me if I mispronounce the Japanese names, because I'm just gonna preface that. I don't want weebs attacking me, but Shinichiro Watanabe.
Yes, Watanabe.
This, and he's also responsible for Cowboy Bebop and Carol and Tuesday, Samurai Champloo.
Mm-hmm.
He's known for incorporating music heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I remember parts in Cowboy Bebop where they just have the music playing without really any talking over it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell that he also just Watanabe feels very much in his wheelhouse when he's working on this. Helping also the fact is that wonderfully immortal Kano Yoko is the person who did the music for Kids on the Slope, which is
Really? I didn't know that.
oh yeah, she's the one who did that. I mean, she obviously did not write the jazz standards that play throughout the course of it. I mean, she didn't write Monin, she didn't write But Not For
Oh
Me
yeah, of
or
course.
Lullaby of Birdland or anything like that. But no, she was the main idea house behind a lot of the more original music that's in this. So, as if she needed another amazing credit to her name. Yeah.
Quite a good record she has so far.
And in her case, actually, a literal record that you can probably go out and buy. So there's that too. But
But I think I'll look for that actually. And after this video, I think I'll look for a record of that actually.
I imagine that there's probably a Kids on the Slope OST that you can probably buy somewhere. Either that, or there's probably somebody on YouTube that's made a playlist of all the various tracks.
There's definitely that at least.
So, since we're sort of also on this subject of letting the music breathe, the reason, the other main reason why is because the episode at the Culture Festival when they have the medley in the auditorium at the school with all the students listening in, I have replayed that scene so many times ever since I first watched this show.
It's a great scene.
It's such
It is a good
a
scene.
great scene. Oh my god. It's so beautiful.
It actually, it's so moving. It actually is.
hmm
It is beautiful.
But I've hogged this
Exactly.
I've hogged this conversation enough. Who else has a particular thing about the show that they really want to talk about?
Well, I actually do have a point about this show that I really, really like to discuss, and that is, before I've seen this anime, I never listened to jazz music. I have always been a big fan of classical music.
hmm
Like, ever since I saw this, I just realized that jazz wasn't all what it was cracked out to be. Like, I used to just think it was just kind of pinky plonky music all over the place. But after watching this anime, I finally realized all about the feel. You actually get to feel the music, all about your mood and all of that. And I love the ornamentation in it and all of that.
hmm
Just think that was an amazing. It got me into jazz music, like, and that's something not many shows can tell me. Like they can't just change my opinion like that. But this show managed to do that brilliantly.
So what you're saying is
Oh.
that you are the main character.
Basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because this is something that I've taught my own. I have taught my students this, but one thing that I have talked to a couple of students about is that jazz, more than other genres of music, seems to be that one where when you find the little lick or the little click that just somehow hits you, it just then opens up the entire genre to you in a way that it doesn't normally do with other genres, at least in my experience. And Juice, based on what you're describing, it sounds like that's what happened.
Basically, yeah. It just like completely opened my eyes.
hmm
It's just great.
Absolutely.
I feel very passionately about this show.
Would you say it's then ascended your list of favorites, like to the point where it's maybe like in a top 10 or a top 5?
Yeah, I'd certainly be in my top five, yeah, but nothing can top Angel Beats naturally, both
Damn.
soundtrack and content. But that is a hot take, and I'm not looking to cause any disputes here.
I don't think you're going to be making anybody angry when you say that Kids on the Slope is one of your favorite shows. I really don't. I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to be making too many rough waves or charting rough waters by saying that.
Because most people seem to have liked it. So
It's at the very least one of Mappa's most beloved properties. Studio Mappa, I'm pretty sure, is the studio that did it. I hope I'm right. I haven't actually checked.
I wouldn't know either. I don't know myself.
Well, you know what? The thing is that now I'm curious. So now I actually am going to check to make sure that this is in fact by Mappa. Oh, please be
go
right.
ahead.
Please be right. Please be right. Okay, it is. Oh, it's a Mappa and Tezuka Productions. So I was half right.
It's a joint project, yeah.
Yes. Thank goodness. But let's see.
A collab, like this video.
Like this.
Absolutely. So in regards to, I guess, some other things, so Juice talked a little bit about how this series really opened up jazz for him. Was there a particular moment that did that for you?
Oh, I'd say it was definitely first episode really. Like I just realized Monin was such a good piece. Start off with that, like it just completely like opened my eyes. Like I just thought the drums and the piano just sounded so amazing together.
Hmm.
So that was the piece that like really that made me think. Like so it was right from the get go, which I love how the anime just nailed it right from the get go. It starts off great.
Hmm. How about you, Pneumatics? When was the moment in the series when you thought it just really started to click for you?
This wasn't one of those series where actually like I like what like oh I wasn't feeling it at first, but I actually liked it like almost immediately, pretty much.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a fair point. It does a surprisingly good job of setting itself up in the first couple of episodes with endearing you to the characters. Uh, I knew that, and maybe this is because I teach music, so maybe I just am coming at this with a different perspective. But the moment when it really started to gel for me was the very beginning of the second episode, where he's running up and down the stairs constantly to listen to the recording, then try it on the piano, and then run back up the stairs to listen to the record again, then run back down the stairs and try it on the piano again. I'm just watching this, thinking to myself, this is sort of in a way what it's like to be so fixated on getting something right to the point where you're kind of running yourself ragged to try and make it work.
That's all right. Exactly. I totally agree. Like he's trying his best to be such a good to get into this jazz thing. So like that is admirable. Admirable.
Honestly, "You tried" could basically be an underlying slogan for this show, because goodness knows that everybody is trying to do something, and so it's just something going wrong so often.
I think that's actually one of my favorite scenes when he's trying to like play the music on the piano and going up and listening to the record, because it just like I saw that I kind of thought to myself like he's not really questioning like, oh, why am I doing this? He's just doing it because he's just feeling a passion growing.
Yeah, well, and he's also trying so hard to impress Ritsuko because of that whole that whole thing, which
Right. Yeah.
which like
Whole love triangle.
the love like rectangle that we got going on in this series, with Sentaro liking Yurika and Kaoru liking Ritsuko, but Ritsuko liking Sentaro and Yurika liking Junichi. It's like and I love the fact that this was not a hammy love rectangle either. Like, because the three main characters especially spent so much time together, you could perfectly understand the fact that there would not only be a camaraderie but also some potential romance developing there anyway. Like, it was natural feeling.
I like how it felt like it worked. And
Mhm.
I remember for another romance show that you hate, gamers. You said one of your biggest complaints with that was you just wish the characters would talk to each other. And I didn't once think that when I was watching Kids on the Slope. I wasn't like, oh, why don't they just talk to each other?
I'm sorry, you mentioned gamers and my mind just blanked for a minute. It's yeah, I literally
I'm
felt
dying
my
of cringe.
I literally felt my IQ dropping.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right for now. I don't know. It's like, check back with me in an hour. We'll see how I'm doing by that point.
Neighbors is a banned topic here.
Yeah. Just look. If anybody's listening, if you like gamers, that's perfectly fine. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Like the thing, I don't like your evil.
Oh, the cringe! Oh my god!
Yeah, no, for me, and I don't use that term lightly. For me, that series was cringe. That was the most painstaking 12 episodes I had sat through in a long time.
You know I haven't seen it yet, but I kind of want to just to see what's so bad about it because you hate it so much.
Especially considering some of the stuff that I have seen and unironically liked.
Domestic
Girlfriend,
girlfriend.
cough.
Say that one more
Can
time,
we both
Pneumatics.
say it? Can we both say it?
Domestic girlfriend. It was a cult classic.
It is absolutely a cult classic. But before we digress too far, I also will say, as far as the love was concerned, Um, my I loved the moment. I can't remember what episode it was, but where Jun is getting on the train to leave, and Eureka basically says "fuck you" to her family, and she gets on the
Yeah.
train with him. I'm just like, you go, girl. You do you. Just do it. You could do it.
Oh
And
my
then the
god, I
and,
love that.
yeah,
I
and then
love that scene.
and then the fact that at the end they're still together and they're happy too.
One
Exactly.
thing about that,
Oh yeah,
like,
that was
towards
so
the end.
great.
What was that?
See,
Go ahead, it's fine.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I loved a little detail I caught whenever I was watching the final episode. It's on the note of trains. Remember whenever he's like getting on the train, like the hometown, like the main character, the protagonist, yeah,
Hmm.
and he's getting on the train. I love how you can see like the kid in the band, like the kid who told Sen all about the trains to begin with. I love how you see him as a train conductor. I just love actually mentions like his love for trains.
And I actually really love trains too. It's actually my preferred form of travel if I have to travel long distance. I'll much more readily take the train over a plane or a bus, especially a bus. Screw that.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm. As far as the oh my god, my computer just gave me a notification, and because my volume on my headset is all the way up, I just got the bejesus scared out of me. I really hope that doesn't.
Understand the grind.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't show up in the recording. But if it does, then it does. Whatever. I'm not operating on some amazing editing software here. But as far as let's see, because we sort of talked a little bit about the ending, I will say that if there is one thing about this show that stops it from becoming like a 10 out of 10 for me, it's how they handled the ending.
Really?
Do go on. Do
Yeah.
go on.
Like,
Go on.
like I like let me make this very clear. I don't have a problem with what happens in the ending, because I actually really like what happens in the ending. My
I thought it
main
was adorable.
Oh no, yeah, it was great. Like, what about the ending? What did you find adorable about the ending, man?
Onto
It's
the
that
meeting
it
up.
just the whole scene in the church when Kaoru was just playing the organ and then Sentaro was playing the drums and then the kids get all excited and come in, like that just put a smile on my face.
Oh,
And there was actually
absolutely.
one thing I was gonna say that happened like before that scene where Kaoru sees Eureka like for the first time in years. When I remember she asked him, "Do you still play piano?" and then he says, "No, I don't." Do you think that's true? I think he was like telling the truth there.
That's
Because
an
right after
interesting
that he
question.
goes to play the organ like pretty much perfectly. So
That's an interesting question. I'm tempted to say yes, primarily because I imagine that even if he has not played the piano in goodness knows how long, he might just still also remember, especially Monin, because that's probably the piece that they've played the most, if we're assuming that they've practiced a lot through the course of in like the in-betweens of episodes and whatnot. I imagine that he, on some level, at least remembers how it felt to play that physically.
yeah.
And also, there's the fact that, when your adrenaline is going, you can just do other things too. So that also might have something to do with it. But I mean, that's one case where I will happily buy dramatic liberties for the purposes of making the affect work so well. And it was adorable.
Totally
You were
agree.
right. It was an adorable moment, especially with all the kids. Yeah.
Yes, all the kids there were great.
Yeah, not like the little brat from Charlotte, where I was glad that she died.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
I'm not gonna lie. I did like her character. I know you did.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one, Pneumatics.
Pizza sauce.
I haven't seen the anime, but oh my god, that conversation took a quick change in tone.
You're not wrong. Oh, like I'm sorry to all the Jun Maeda fans out there who like Charlotte. Charlotte does not do it for me at all. But let's see. So yeah, so the problem with the ending that I have is, again, it's not what happened. It's the fact that it seemed to happen so quickly. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
definitely.
Could understand that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as I was watching this, I thought to myself, okay, so, I can understand, the fact that they don't actually get to put on the performance that they wanted. I can understand to an extent. I can understand, Sentaro getting in the accident, which is, all right. I is it just a rule of thumb that like if you're in a romance anime, you will get into an accident in some fashion?
Or an isekai.
That's an entirely separate animal. Like that's usually involves actually dying.
So yeah, you're totally right. Like that just came out of like right field or something. Like what was that? Like he was just going home, then just shows him on his bike. Yeah, his sister gets critically injured. What? I was confused there, to be honest. And when did he disappear exactly? Like, yeah, that ending. Like, I will admit there were some complaints I had with the ending. Like especially like the bit where sorry, I can't remember the names. I'm so embarrassed of myself.
No, it's all right.
Ichi. I'm just gonna call him that because that's what Zen calls him.
Oh yeah.
Why? And a girl. Oh God.
Eureka.
Yeah, but he says he's so glad that Sen is gone. Then she's like, "Wait, what?"
I was gonna ask about that.
Oh
threw me
yeah,
off when he did that.
yeah, that was rough. When Kaoru says to Ritsuko that he's glad that that like Sentaro being gone means that they can be together now. I was like, dude, like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It just felt out of character for him, of all people, to say that. Maybe he was just like too wrapped up in the moment that they were alone together. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and I get it. He's been pining for her basically ever since episode 1, and because he knew that she liked Sentaro as well, so that probably also didn't do him just any favors. But I find it so odd that after spending all of those episodes building up the friendship and the camaraderie of these three, that he would make a comment like that honestly reads as rather crass.
Really? He just came across as like old person.
And I know that he's a little bit. I mean, we obviously know that he's a little bit cold because of his, familial turmoil that he's got, and also the fact that he's just moved around so much, so he's not very personable because he doesn't make any friends really. But I mean, especially after the whole friendship is forever thing that one of the characters says in like one of the middle episodes, I just thought that was just a very forced line from a character who, at this point, really should know better. I don't know. That's just sort of how I interpreted it.
I love how whenever we started the video, we all just said how much we love the show. We spent nothing but just criticize it.
I mean, well, we've been talking about stuff on the show that we like, and also, I mean, you can love a show and still point out that it has some problems. I mean, this is not like we're treating Kids on the Slope either as the next coming of Christ, nor are we calling it a spawn of Satan. It's a show, and just like any show, even shows that you love, it has flaws and it has its problems.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We all know my favorite show has some flaws in it, which we will not address, as I stated previously.
Yeah, remind just for anybody who might be curious listening, what is your favorite show?
Angel Beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because when I shared my Mal account with you for the first time, because I think this was before I even got AniList, you left a comment saying Angel Beats. You gave it a 5. So, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I did.
I did not react kindly. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and then you and I both quickly laughed it off. It's like, yeah, all right. Anyway, moving on.
Exactly.
No problems to anybody out there who loves Angel Beats. If you love it, that's perfectly fine. I've seen it 3 times, and I can't watch any more of it.
Really? You've seen it 3 times?
Yeah. It was one of those shows where the first time I watched it, I didn't like it, and I thought, you know what, maybe I was just in a bad mood. So I rewatched it a month later, and then I watched it for the 3rd time about a year and a half ago with a friend who really, really loves it. And so it's like, if I'm watching this with a super fan of Angel Beats, and I still can't bring myself to say that I like it, it's like I think I've given this thing enough chances.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie. I've considered giving it a second chance because the first time I saw it, I just wasn't really like. I'll admit I wasn't really in like the best of moods. I don't know, but I remember thinking it was like decent, like not great or anything more than that. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I might give it another shot. Maybe not.
I'd never call it a bad show because I don't think it's a bad show. It's just one that didn't work on me.
Yeah.
The same. I like. It's a show that I apply to. Like, I also have a controversial opinion where I think like one really, really highly acclaimed show, like Kaiji. I thought that was only alright. Like, that didn't actually really do much for me. My personal opinion.
Kaiji.
I found it just too depressing.
What show was that? Say again.
Kaiji, the gambling one.
I have actually not.
Oh, that one was weird.
I have not actually seen that one. I don't think.
I have. I liked it. I just thought it was really, really weird. Like even for anime, the people are like, "Oh, it's weird," but like that one was just like, bizarre. I liked it, but it was like 7 out of 10 material for me.
Something.
One thing I liked about it was the presentation. I thought was great. Story was all right, I guess.
You know that something is going to be crazy when even anime fans are like, "Yeah, this is weird." Considering there is no shortage of weirdness in the medium as there is.
Exactly.
God forbid. It was only about like 10 or 12 years ago that the whole emoto craze took off with Ore Emo.
God.
Having war flashbacks.
but yeah, I mean, as far as Kids on the Slopes ending was concerned, I liked what it did. I just wish that it had been a little bit more polished. Getting that, like, this was just screaming for one more episode to.
I was
gonna
ask
that
too.
Yeah,
because I'm like a bit more lenient when it comes to pacing for like 12-episode series because obviously they're not as long.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Kids on the Slope would have been better if it had a few more episodes?
I honestly think it does, but only really in the ending, right around the time when Sentaro basically wants to run away from home when he hears that his dad is coming back. I think that if we had gotten the chance to see more interactions with his family, it would make what he wants to do make a lot more sense, which would then also make the drama that follows, I feel, land a little bit more effectively. It's honestly just the fact that it happens just a little too quickly. Because the individual story beats I like, and like it's good drama, especially considering the family dynamic that they're trying to build with him when, Kaoru visits him and then they have the watermelon and stuff. But as far as actual execution of it left me just a little bit wanting.
Yeah.
It's like no one's gotten a response to that, I guess.
I don't even have anything to refute that point.
Oh. Well, then I guess I can say that I won anime. I can take home my crown now.
My opinion is correct, and yours is wrong.
Of course it is. I'm a personality on the internet. My entire brand is built around the idea that I'm right and you're not.
Exactly.
No, not really. Not really. Which is funny because people who I talk to on Discord and whatnot, like they learn pretty quickly that I really don't give a crap about your anime opinion as long as you're a good person. But the
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, there are worse things to get up in arms about than that. I mean, there really are. I mean, something to get up in arms about is the fact that characters apparently can't figure out when someone's in love with them, which is what happens here.
Yeah, that was so annoying. I thought, like, I really kind of don't. This is gonna make me sound so. This is gonna be so controversial, but I found Ritsuko actually a bit annoying. Like,
really?
She kept dithering, like, "Ooh, do I like him? Ooh, do I not like him? No."
She was being. You thought she was being like wishy-washy.
Basically.
Yeah, wishy-washy,
I mean, like,
or like on the fence, or
yeah,
exactly
on the slope.
Like, she was so awkward. I felt like her being Diddery was about like a bit too long. Like I don't know, maybe 7 episodes too long, and like it was just a bit slightly annoying. Like she's a great character in every other aspect, but
Hmm.
just kind of felt like I didn't like how she's kind of like thing like one day she's fine, then the next day she's absolutely mortified. Like I just found that so confusing.
I feel like a symptom of that might also be because the span of time that is actually explored in the series is really, really big, and because it's only 12 episodes long, there's all of this in between text between episodes that we don't actually get to see. So, I mean, when you think about it in that regard, there's probably a whole bunch of conversations that these characters might. I mean, if you do believe in this kind of literary theory of the fact that these characters have a life in between episodes, that there's probably all these either conversations or, jam sessions or talks in the basement that they had that we're just simply not privy to. And
Okay.
I have not read the original source material for Kids on the Slope, so I don't know how much of that is also filled in the blank and how much of those blanks are filled in versus what is chosen to be cut for the purposes of broadcast. Um, I would have to read the original source material for that, of course. But no, I can at least see why Ritsuko is probably the weakest of the main trio, I guess.
Yeah, she
A
doesn't even play an
main trio,
instrument.
I would have to agree, but like that's not like a bad character. It's just like of
No,
the
yeah.
main trio, yeah.
Yeah. I do feel gypped that we didn't actually get to see her sing These Are a Few of My Favorite Things.
Oh yes, the English section.
Yeah. And I gotta say, for being a Japanese voice actress trying to sing in English, that was actually pretty good. Like that was a good read of English, especially just given the ways in which the languages are different. So I have to give full props to whomever that voice actress is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I mean, I'm only joking when I say English. It was actually
Yeah.
it was a great scene. Like all things considered, like I thought it was very good for English because
Mhm.
I know bad English because I play visual novels.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Out of curiosity, I looked up who it is. Her name is Yuka Nanri. She also voiced Sophia in Space Dandy's second season. Um, let's see, what else has she done?
You still haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I will get there. I will get there. I'm giving Kaon my second chance, which is actually technically my third chance. Um, she also
I didn't know you gave it a second chance already. I thought it was just this
yeah
was the second
yeah
chance. I didn't know
that
there
was
was a third one.
yeah that was like a year and a half ago. Um,
Oh.
she also voiced Sayuri Sawatari in The Place Promised in Our Early Days, the Shinkai Makoto film. So I mean, just in case for whatever reason, anybody listening, if you've seen those, that's also some of the work that she's done. But yeah, so that was absolutely lovely as far as the just the little moment of them all playing and singing together. I wish that we had more.
I yeah, that's an anime that just made me begging for more after. Sorry, that's an anime that made me beg for more.
No, which is what a good show does. I mean,
Sorry.
should leave you wanting more. Absolutely. So let's see. Is there anything else in particular that you guys had in mind for talking about this show? Because either it's from the romantic angle, from the music angle, from the plot angle, anything else? No matter how
Thought
tiny
the
or
OP was
incidental?
good.
Oh, the OP is lovely. Like it like I
It is
don't
a bop.
yeah, like I don't know what I was expecting for a show called Kids on the Slope and about jazz, but that was such a lovely little 90 seconds that started every single episode. I don't remember the
Well,
ED at all.
oh,
I
I
actually like
skipped the
the
ED.
I like the ED more than the OP.
Oh, really?
Skip.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
No, I meant it was in jest. I don't actually feel sorry for having an opinion.
No,
I
it's
skipped the ED. I'm sorry.
no, it's totally cool. yeah, I guess who knows? Maybe I just need to listen to it a few more times. But just all the music involved, whether it was in performance or otherwise, was just so well done. I really, as far as sound and visual aesthetic is concerned, I really don't have any complaints whatsoever. It was such a lovely looking series, which is which is
Exactly. Like,
which is a shame because MAPPA has apparently been getting flack lately for some of their work. Uh,
In the visual department?
yeah, in the visual department, like I mean, one of the shows that's airing right now, Talked Opus Destiny, is a perfectly fine show when it's especially in its action sequences. But aside from that, it's kind of like, eh. At least that's sort of the impression that I've been getting. Um, but that's just me. I have no idea if that opinion is shared by other people who are watching that right now. Uh, but and I know that there was all of that furor over when Mappa ended up doing the most recent season of Attack on Titan. Uh, I know that people were not happy about like a certain subsect of the anime community was not happy about that. Let me put it that way.
pretty big subsect.
Honestly, it was a pretty decently sized subsect. I'm probably short selling it.
I mean, I can understand because I've seen people be like, "Oh, I hope this." Well, like when something gets an adaptation, like, "Oh, I hope this doesn't go to Mappa." Like I've seen when Vinland Saga season 2 got announced, saw a few people go, "Oh, I hope this doesn't go to Mappa,"
Yeah.
because of like their reputation of like treating their employees like garbage. I guess I don't know the
Yes.
whole story, but like I remember seeing like a tweet from some animator who said it was like factory-like working conditions.
Yeah,
Oh God.
I've heard relatively similar things from uh, just from the couple of things that I have been able to glean from people who are familiar a little bit with how Mappa works, um, which is a shame because I mean some of their stuff is genuinely good. I mean they made Banana Fish, which is a fantastic anime when that came out. For what it's worth, they also made Yuri on Ice, which was
God.
which I have. It's fine. It's all right. It's Yuri on Ice. It's all right. Like that for me is the most 5 out of 10 show ever.
Even more so than Angel Bees.
Wait,
uh,
what?
Did you say?
you said the forbidden words. No, I mean like, okay, maybe Disappearance of Nagato Yuki-chan is the most 5 out of 10 anime, but
Thought you gave that a 6.
I knocked it down a point. I rewatched a couple of episodes of it recently just out of curiosity. It's like I really don't feel anything for this.
I feel like maybe my opinion would change if I saw that, because I saw that was one of the first things I saw. Like, in terms of anime.
Okay, yeah.
So that might explain why I've been like more like I gave it a 7 out of 10, which is like it's good. Like the
Yeah.
main series and obviously the Disappearance movie are way better,
Mhm.
but I still enjoyed it, even though I think it would not be anything special if the like characters and story weren't like attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, it for me really is like the most unbelievably average rom-com slice of life that I could think of, at least off the top of my head. I'm sure that there are others. Like I'm sure that there are.
School
But
Days anime was pretty mediocre.
Was
he said School Days.
no.
No, I've watched it and I hated it.
Konashi ni no no ta na na na.
I'm sure this
Mediocre
goes
was a
for
show.
sure this goes for most people, but the only reason I even stuck it out and didn't drop the show was to see the ending that everyone kept hyping up.
It wasn't worth it.
I thought there was going to be a yandere.
I mean, there was a yandere, not a very good one, but there was.
Nice boat.
Yeah, here's the thing. I will give School Days credit for two things. One, it actually like the okay, two things. One, it did in fact make me absolutely thoroughly loathe the main character, which is
Yeah, same here.
goddamn Makoto. And the other thing too is that it did have a genuinely badass moment. Not the moment where he gets stabbed. That's actually not the moment that I'm thinking of. But it's the one where Kotonoha and Sakai are on this school's rooftop, and it's after Kotonoha kills Sakai, and then she cuts open her stomach to basically say, like, I knew you weren't pregnant. Like, wow, that is so goddamn extra, and I did love that.
That actually shocked me more than Makoto's actual like death scene.
Oh, absolutely, because there's like, I mean, Sakai was already dead. There was no reason whatsoever for her to go the extra mile, but she did it anyway. So that's what I actually think of when I think of School Days' ending. Is I don't actually think of Makoto getting stabbed. Although he did totally he gets no sympathy from me in that regard.
And like, what is with Makoto like throughout the entire show? Like feels like he is literally a visual novel protagonist, like a blank slate. Like
Yeah.
I had no words. It's like when tried to
Generic
switch to
harem
browser.
protagonist.
Yeah,
It's like he tried to switch to dating rather than a visual novel halfway through the game.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the entire show could be summed up with the slogan, "I will fuck everything that has a vagina." That's literally what the show was.
But that's what I was gonna say. But I have a policy for no coarse language.
Well, I put the disclaimer at the beginning, so it's all okay. But just no. So let's go back to something that's good. Kids on the Slope.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't mind at all that we've been digressing. I actually think it's kind of a part of what makes it a little bit fun.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I guess like the very, very last thing that I at least wanted to talk about with this series too, was just the fact that is how of all of the songs that could have been the main recurring motif throughout the course of it, I love the fact that it was Monen, not just because it's a good song in and of itself, but also because of the fact that, you know, this is very, very stupid, and this is not really connected to anything, but the fact that these characters probably did do a lot of moaning to themselves because of how stupid they sometimes could be.
Exactly.
And yeah, I understand completely the fact that sometimes you may be completely and blissfully unaware of feelings that somebody might have for you, but at the same time, it's kind of just thinking to myself, the writing is right there on the wall. Come on.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, but these are honestly, like, that's a very small complaint in the grand scheme of things. I mean, really, the only sore sticking point is just the rapidity of the ending, but for me, this is a very solid recommended 8 out of 10 anime for me. I liked this a lot.
And
What was that?
said same.
Mm-hmm. How about
Yeah,
you?
so
Yep. How about you, Nomadics?
Same pretty much. Because I score things with decimals, they've actually bumped it up 8.5.
Oh,
instead-
damn.
Out of a 10, instead of
Yeah.
just an 8.
Perfect. So, and maybe in a way, maybe I'm harsher on music shows than I need to be, but I have to call it as I see it. I mean, that's just ultimately how it works. I'm not, I can't change my rating based on how I think I should feel about something. It's how I do feel about something. But I mean, an 8 out of 10 is not something that I want to flippantly give out. So for me, this series really was good, and I'm glad that I saw it.
Same here.
like I don't regret it. Like I was at my friend's house whenever I started watching it, and like I was originally skeptical, but like I don't regret watching it now. Like it was definitely a recommendation for anyone who wants liked music or slice of life. Definitely a high class recommendation.
If music anime or romance or slice of life, if that sounds up your alley, if you want a really solid soundtrack, and if you maybe you'll find that the ending is, you know, it works for you in terms of not only what happens but in terms of the pacing, you know, so either way, if any of that stuff sounds like it could appeal to you, or if you also just really, really like jazz, you like jazz? There, I said it.
My God.
Go.
Happen at
he
least
said
once.
his.
Could this have been
Said the thing.
could this have been a discussion about Kids on the Slope without at least one you like jazz?
Or if you're looking to get into jazz, I guess.
Yeah,
Like me.
yeah. I mean, if it worked for you, Juice, then I'm sure that it can work for somebody else. So
Yeah, like I've noticed that
yeah, please.
some people might have the idea that like, oh, jazz is boring, but like I think it's all just like the same kind of like tempo, sounds, textures, all that crap. I think this would be like a decent way to prove them wrong, because like there were points where it felt like the music didn't feel boring like at all. And it was actually one, I don't remember what episode it was, but there was a scene where like it basically felt like the drums and the piano were like battling each other of how intense they were. Do you remember that scene?
Are you talking about when they're in the club? And it's like Sentaro maybe holding himself back a little bit because Yurika is right there in the audience, and so Kaoru is like, "Here, let me wake you up a little bit," and so then they have a little bit more of a furious back and forth while
That one.
Yeah, while the trumpeter and the bass player are playing along with them. Yeah, I love that.
That actually leads me to another thing. I remember there was in that same scene there was one of the like people in the audience was making racist remarks, being like, "Oh, don't play that."
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Did not expect that from an anime to actually like bring up an issue like racism.
I wasn't expecting that either, and it's also very easy to forget that this is a series that's supposed to take place in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Which just if you want to read up a little bit on the especially some of the more historical background context, which went a long way in also making the series feel more real, because it really felt like a place in time. It's fascinating stuff just about the Tokyo Medical School unpaid internships that caused all that furor in a way in the first place. But yeah, I was not expecting someone to drop, the word COON in the middle of an anime.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, props to this show for having a moment like that. And the fact that, and I love the fact that, like, Sentaro got angry and everybody else got angry and he had to actually take himself out for a little bit. Like, it wasn't just like oh, you're wrong and I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong kind of moment. It was no, he's actually going to stew on this for a while. It was just made the moment feel a lot more real. And that's, I think, one of the best things about the series in general, is that even in the midst of all of its, in a way, dramatic, whether you want to call it contrivance or hokiness, it never stopped feeling real.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree with that as well.
Yay!
I feel like I'm just piggybacking on what Pitting's saying. Dramatic, sorry.
No, it's all right. I mean, I guess then in that case I'm in good company. So
Exactly.
So did anybody else have anything that they wanted to talk about with Kids on the Slope?
Oh, I have to say, I did actually I kind of wish we got to know a bit more about, Junichi. I really wanted to know a bit more about his time in Tokyo. I really wanted to know about him and the communist thing he was in or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That, and part of the problem with sort of the focus of the show being primarily on music and the main trio is that doesn't get talked about enough, as it were. But then again, it's more small potatoes compared to the jazz playing and the dynamic between the main three. But if you do want to read up on that, I can DM you a Wikipedia article.
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll drop it in the video's description too. I figured I've mentioned it. I might as well just drop it down there. Yeah. So I do agree, maybe in a way, that the historical background context is a little bit fuzzy. But it's another part of that is also just because it's a history that we're not familiar with. So it also, the way that we interpret it as people from quote unquote the West, or just perhaps more specifically not Japan, will obviously be a little bit different compared to a Japanese person who's watching this and is at least moderately familiar with it, or perhaps because it was only about 50 years ago, actually lived it or took part in it. But that's unfortunately one of the cultural bridges that we have to sometimes reconcile when watching anime.
Just one thing I wanted to bring up actually. Do they ever? I don't remember, but do they specify how old Junichi is? Because what did you think about him eloping with Eureka, who was in high school?
Let's see. I don't actually remember offhand how old Junichi is. I know that he's in college because I think he's at Tokyo University.
Yeah, I remember they specified that he was a college student.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't remember if it's actually Tokyo University or if it's just a university that just so happens to be in Tokyo. I would have to double check that. But as far as the running away with Eureka and getting married thing, like that, I mean, obviously to, like, our sensibility, that might seem really odd, especially given the fact that teenage romance is always such a, especially late teenage romance, which is what Eureka is such a, it's an inherently weird period of time to write about. But I don't think I minded it so much because the dramatic catharsis of it worked for me, and I think the reason why it did was I think I liked the fact that their relationship, in a way, was so transgressive. I mean, the fact that Eureka is basically throwing her entire future away for this guy, on some, there is something inherently romantic about that with a capital R, as in like the romantic, as in like romantic style. Obviously, in terms of real life practicality, it would not necessarily be so clean. But this is one time where, for me at least, I can throw away the reason behind something because they knew what, both of them really knew what was happening and the implications of what was happening, and they were willing to make that sacrifice in order to do it. And I think on some level that does supersede some of the potential ways that could be read problematically. For me, anyway.
Well put.
Incredibly well put.
Thank you. Meanwhile, you're both stewing like, I can't believe he defended that. Well, anyway, I'm at the very least through with the things that I want to talk about. So if either of you had any leftover thoughts about the show, feel free to throw them out there, or discussions, or we can always just call it a night if we have to.
Oh, what's there to say other than the fact that I loved it? Like, it's definitely a solid 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Love how I just say I loved it and then immediately say, yeah, it's an 8 out of 10.
No, that's all right. That's totally fine. And
so,
so between the three of us, I guess that means that we gave it a combined score of what, like 24.5 out of 30, something like that. Yeah, because Nomadics, you gave it 8.5, right? Yeah. So honestly, if music, romance, slice of life, if that sounds up your alley, then I think all of us can heartily recommend give Kids on the Slope a watch. It's brief. It's only 12 episodes long, and I absolutely think that it's worth giving a shot. So I don't think it's worth giving a shot. Silence. So, I guess maybe in that case, if there's nothing else left to say, I guess that means that we should call it a recording, I suppose.
Suppose so.
I guess unless anybody has a last-minute thought.
Well, I mean, it's not really about the show, but I just want to say, very grateful that I could actually be here to discuss this show. Like, very happy that I could have a chance to discuss one of my favorite music anime out there. So big thanks to you, ZNote. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Or ZNote, for those of you who say Z instead of Z. That's totally. I actually kind of
I
like.
am from Ireland.
Yeah, I like both actually. So I can't.
Same here. I like both.
Yeah, I like both too. So I really have no preference either way. No, but I mean, talking about anime in in a form like this is a part of what also makes just watching anime fun. I mean, what's the fun in just simply watching it when you can actually talk to people about it? And if the opportunity ever presents itself like this again, I would happily talk about another show with you two.
Wow, that'd actually be great.
It's like,
There you
nah, I'm
go.
good. I'm fine.
Exactly. I'm just gonna be sure that I'm gonna check my letterbox for death threats tomorrow, just in case anyone
No.
disagrees with my Angel Beats opinion.
No, no, no. I don't think you're gonna get that. But uh, I can talk about that with you guys after I hit the stop button on the recording. But I suppose then I guess the only thing left to do is say on behalf of Juiced and Nomadics, this has been ZNote of ZNote-Taku, and I bid you all a fond farewell. Happy viewing.